Is there a particular story behind your most meaningful creation?
Um, so my most meaningful creation. First, I gotta figure out what is my most meaningful creation, because like everything comes from the story of my life. So I probably have to think to myself about pain frequency and what that means for my catalog moving from volume two. So volume two was, of course, like a whole like heartbreak story and boohoo, whatever. But the thing about that was it was the supposed to be like the end all be all. Okay, I express myself, all my emotions and sadness and stuff like that, and get over with it. Which at that point and stuff, there was a lot of things going on from like, friends in the music or friends in the personal life or personal love interests and everything like that, or just how I was feeling about my journey in music overall. So in that place, I was like, dang, this project is dark. Like, you know what I mean? Like I listened to it for a while and sometimes listening to it, I was like, oh snap, like this depressing. So moving out of that, I was like, I don't want to make another project that dark, or at least if I am going to speak about something deep like that, that's personal and really give people an intimate view into my life, then I need to offer some kind of way out or some kind of like wisdom about it, some kind of bright side. And with pain frequency, that is probably my most intimate project up to now because it's my most conceptual beyond just a storyline. So, Pain Frequency was me realizing that I was making a lot of music based off of the things I was going through and hurt that I was going through. So, I started understanding I was going through operating on a pain frequency. So, that's why it's titled that. Now, how that came about was I talked to Yana, shout out to Yana or Honeybreed, or, y'all know. People know, y'all know. So one time I was speaking to her about pretty much my feelings and how I was feeling like emotionally trapped in certain situations I was having and just life overall. And she was like, you need emotional autonomy. And I was like, to be honest, I don't know what that is. And she was explaining like you being able to have yourself completely and not have other people have a piece of you or control over you. You need to have control completely over yourself. So when I started realizing how to get that back, that's when I identified that I operate based off of pain. I'm inspired based off of that. I move based off of that. And I didn't want that to be my situation any longer. So I removed myself out of that by speaking about it and then understanding, oh, I'm operating on a pain frequency. All that music I made up to that point, I was like, wow, this is all based off of like, I'm hurt, but what can I do that's inspired from a better place, happy, more in tune with myself, or more at peace? And I started working on that kind of music. But I was like, first, I want to identify I've been operating on a pain frequency before I moved on to the next conceptual project, which classified, but I'm still going to leak it. It's called Emotional Autonomy, based off of that conversation, which launched into a trilogy, which the final title of that project and that trilogy is going to remain unnamed until I get on to the next project. So I think Pain Frequency, my unreleased album, is the most intimate project that I made, and that's the experience that brought me there. And On the Wave is actually a single for it, which not only my most intimate piece of a project, but my most popular track. So that kind of worked out.
Okay. What was your first introduction to music and how did it inspire you?
My first introduction to music, it's so funny. I feel like I answered this question so many times to people without it being on camera. So this is gonna be like the first, finally, you know what I mean? After all these decades of doing music. So back then when 106 in Park was popping, this was before Bow Wow, by the way. No hate to Bow Wow and stuff like that, but it's just different. It was just a different time. So this is back when Young Money Cash Money was like going crazy. So they had all the affiliates. You had Drizzy Drake and stuff cooking up. But Little Twist actually came out with a song called New Money, right? And at that time, I was probably like 11. Yeah, I was 11. And pretty much at that time, I was like, I had nothing I was inspired to do. I was like, shoot, I wanted to be a game programmer at one point, and then I gave that up. And then I thought to myself, well, this next dream that I get, I'm never going to give it up. And then I'm sitting down in front of 106 and Park and stuff like I do as soon as I get back from school. Then I hear Lil Twist talk about new money. And then he was like, soon as I get it, I spend it. Which is terrible financial advice. It wasn't advice, but it was terrible financial literacy on his behalf expressing that. But hey, hope he's in a better place. But listening to that song pretty much made me think to myself, I can make it in music. And this may come off as shade, so it's not. Um, I thought to myself, shoot, he ain't that good of a rapper. I can do it. I was like, yo, this is so simple. I can write this. And at that point, I was the closest thing to illiterate you can be while also being able to communicate for very long extents of time. That actually worked in my favor when it comes to freestyling. Brandon Torres called me up, my best friend and stuff like that, and he was like, "Yo, bro, have you ever thought about being a rapper?" And I was like, "Man, I just thought about it right now." He was like, "Let's freestyle." So we started freestyling. He went on for like, a minute or less and stuff. I started freestyling for like 5, 10 minutes and stuff. He was like, "How you do this?" I was like, "I just thought about words that rhyme, just put it together." Then he was like, "Bruh, let's write a song and let's go." So we wrote a song for an hour, got back on the phone, rapped it. He was like, "Bro, you're crazy." Like my first lines was like, "Hello, it's the king. You can see it on my ring. It's all about my diamonds and all my shiny things," which had nothing shiny at all. But hey, But after finished writing that and stuff, he was just like, "Bro, you could do this." And like every day since then, I freestyled and I wrote with him for like years. And he would be like, "Bro, you got this." Other people would be like, "Brother, you're cooked. You suck." But that initial feeling of seeing that music video, freestyling and being like, "Yo, bro, you actually cooking," and writing that track, and then how some of the old heads be saying that record, and that new record that came out. So writing that record, actually put me in a place that was like my start of really made me be like, "Yeah, I can go for this."
Who or what motivates you to keep pushing forward even in difficult times?
The people that motivate me to keep going in difficult times really is shout out to him. He's actually on set right now. Broke the third wall. It's the fourth wall, right? I don't know which wall it is. Whatever. Is Winston. So the thing is, like, when I first got into it back in high school, and I met him through Coach Cox, I made a rap song for a project about the skeletal system, certified hood classic in East High. So anybody who ever rode down Ray Road and stuff like that, you know about it. Billboards everywhere. So it's like right next to the Jersey section and stuff like that. Let's go. Nah, but when she had heard the song that I made and put it on our school TV called Wired and stuff, she was like, "I need to introduce you to this one guy, Winston." So Winston, from that point, we were connecting and stuff like that. And when he graduated, he was like, "You gonna carry on KMG and stuff like that." And it was like that story, kind of how they have on the movies and stuff like that. And it's almost like, "Yo, you gonna represent this? You bad boys for life." You know what I'm saying? But yeah, and I couldn't use that reference and stuff like that because it wasn't going on, but that was the only one I had. Oh, 50 Cent with G Unit, but no criminal activity. But getting straight to it, all the times that we worked together and stuff like that, and hard times had hit the team as a whole, or just like, he's encouraged me and coached me through recording and like being able to see new levels for myself had pushed me. Quan definitely is a huge part of me continuing to keep on going through hard times because back when we met each other sophomore year in high school, we used to send long texts to one another all the time, just being like, "Yo, like, here's a verse. Oh, snap, I gotta write a verse now. And we getting back to that now, even. And my cousin Trey, too, because back then, my cousin Trey used to always be like, "Bro, you gotta really like consider this, like, really digging into your craft." And when I got to a place where I was actually writing some really prolific work and stuff, he was like, "You got the coast, bro. You got it. No, you got it in the bag. You got the potential to be one of the greatest out here." Brandon definitely was one of those people to really lock in with me, but definitely my cousin always telling me like, "Yo, you got this." He believed in me before I genuinely believed in myself making it. And he believed to me to an extent that I'm still catching up to. And Punch, God, you know, definitely my relationship with God. A lot of times when I feel like giving up, I'll be talking to God and I'll be like, "Is this what I'm supposed to be doing?" Because I can't go back into the Bible and really say that you want me to get a Grammy or anything like that. So I really need to see, like, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? And if it is what I'm supposed to be doing, center me in what I need to do. Because I'm not here to be the top rap, I'm killing all MCs. I'm not one of those guys. You know what I mean? I can do the ribbity rap, but I'm not a hibbity hibbity hopper. You feel me? When I get on a track, it's really about communicating something. So whenever I pray, I'll be like, "God, can you do this? Can you do that? Show me this way of being able to do it." And to be honest, throughout time, it's really shown that, hey, look, there's a certain part that I need to get to. There's certain like path I need to be on with what I'm communicating that's going to keep me centered with God and energetic and passionate about it, but also purposeful about it. So definitely that weaves in everybody else supporting because at the end of the day, it really just be me at the end of the day, like that's 24/7 around me and God. So going to God, communicating, and then all the brothers around me being on the same kind of spirit and heart about it and stuff always keeps me going no matter what. And it was funny because I actually talked to Wins and Los one time at the studio, and I told them, bro, for a while I was thinking about giving up. They was like, what? I was thinking about giving up. And like it was crazy too, and it was funny because I was making like like the most active in the studio probably at that time period too. So it's like one of those, check on your strongest friends, you know what I mean, type moments, you know what I'm saying? It's like studio version and stuff like that. It's like, he has all the plaques, but sometimes he wants to give up. But then another Grammy comes in. Thank you, Grandma. Woo. So yeah, that's what keeps me going.
So, how does your personal beliefs, values, and the philosophies influence your work?
To be honest, like that's really the only things that really piece together the concepts that I get into is my values and beliefs. Cause to be honest, it's weird. I have moments where people offering me deals and stuff to be the most streetest rapper, but I'm a square. So that kind of like, and people can see I'm not a street guy too. So it's kind of like if I did try to go that route and stuff, it probably look ugly. Like I feel like Eminem would have a better chance at being the most gangster rapper opposed to me. You know what I'm saying? So never really gonna reach to that. And my heart for it is really saying, hey, look, if I'm investing myself into this and there's eternity waiting on the other end of this life that I'm living right now, there's no way I'm about to be like this focused on just acquiring stuff or just being caught up in the industry as deep as some people have wanted me to be in the industry. So that influenced the way that I operate in my music and the way I operate in business too. But creatively and stuff, everything I speak about comes from my life. Everything that you look into in the lyrics and stuff is storylines, involves people, involves myself, involves my beliefs and stuff. So you will hear me talk about Jesus. And I look, it's not about corny or not, it's about genuine or not. You know what I mean? And that's how I've always been about it. So you're gonna hear me talk about my beliefs and my values. And to be honest, I'm not here to like really do anything except for build up people. And there's only one real way that you can actually edify and build people that's not gonna end in them falling over stumbling blocks, and that's being pure. And you got to get that from being centered in God. To be honest, you can't get that anywhere else. So that's really what influenced me and the things that I do in music.
Right. So, what challenges have you faced along your journey, and have they helped shape your growth as an artist?
Shoot, ducking the feds every day, every day of my life. Oh, that's nah. But shoot, the challenges that I face, usually a lot of them was talking to people who are in the music industry, always trying to finesse the underground artists. And shame on you guys. Oh my goodness. Like, you guys are working with artists like B.O.B. and stuff like that and whatever and stuff, and you over here trying to finesse it. Bruh, I don't even have a business account behind the LLC for my brand yet. And you over here trying to finesse me out of the allowance that my mother is giving me for gas money? Shame on you, sir. I'm sick of that. That was a challenge one time at one point, right? But you start getting industry understanding or industry literacy. I'll call it for now. Yeah, that's gonna be a new thing. Music industry literacy, and what that means is this: well, you walk into the dungeon and you walk into the castle of any RPG game, right? You know what I mean? They always have this format, right? You people probably seen it on the Indiana Jones thing, you switch the skull out with the bag and the traps and whatever. Well, there's a lot of those in the music industry. And if you ain't music industry literate, it's gonna concave on you. You gonna fall into one of the traps. And those traps have been the challenges. And I'm gonna bullet point them real quick and then I'm gonna go in, okay? So one is the scammers, is the dude that walk around with the Gucci belt and the Gucci shoes, but he ain't got the Gucci socks, the rocking Fruit of the Looms. It's like he's like a character in Skyrim trying to level up to that full Gucci outfit, but he hasn't scammed enough underground artists yet. So he's trying to collect the souls of their bank accounts and stuff to go on a shopping spree. I'm like, what in the Nemus Marcus is going on? Nemus Walmart is going on. You feel me? So really it's a lot of predatory things, and also those predatory acts influence and affect the minds of a lot of artists in your own space. The popularity contest, the people that's Hollywood with only 25 monthly listeners, that's crazy. That is wild. I've had conversations with people who said they only sign artists with 250,000 and 1 million followers and stuff. What makes those guys that are around us eating the same Chipotle think that they are out here collecting all types of Oscars and Pulitzer Awards and stuff like that? Sit down. So you got these prideful people, you got these scammers, liars, and deceivers. I mean, shoot, lions, bears, tigers, oh my, all in this concrete and foliage filled jungle. So I feel like that really has been the challenge. Creatively, there hasn't been much of a challenge. It's very few often in between that I will ever be in a writing drought. It's very few in between that these things will happen. Really what it is right now is getting to that bag. Feel me? I'm not into motion music, but I'm trying to get some motion on my music. You did? You know what I'm saying? Hey, look. By the way, hey, I'm liking this interview. You kind of cute. What's your name? You got a no? Okay. All right, we can go to the next question. I'm sorry.
What makes your music apart from others in your genre feel different?
What makes my music different, to be honest, is it's personality without gimmicks. It's story without alterations. It's filled with something that's edifying. It's stylistically. I feel like the presentation comes off as if you have a conversation with me, right? And I always struggle to kind of figure out like what sets me apart because it's like, well, we all doing music. Do I add a different tempo to my music? Does it have a different rhythm? Do I use different wordage and stuff like that? And it's really none of that. Just like I have a conversation with people every day. Look, my sentences are just the same as other people's sentences. They fill with words, subjects, nouns, predicates, all that other stuff, right? Really what it is the differentiator is who it is in that person understanding themselves. And I feel like I understand myself enough in music to craft who I am as a person and give you that sit down experience and an intimate experience with my music that details and isolates you with me. Because there's a lot of people that talk deep, but what does depth have to do with you, you know? And how does that isolate you? So I feel like I isolate people in the experience to get to know me and analyze their own stories sometimes in my music. There's some similar artists like people like to say, like, the Kendricks, the J. Coles and stuff like that of the world. People be saying the Kendricks and the J. Coles of the world as if there's a lot of people on their level. It's not. Um, Let me chill out. But that's what I feel like really separates it. My music is about a pathway to me, Caleb Jones. I Am Aura is on the music labels and stuff like that, but it's really me. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's what it's all about, and that's what separates me. And I'm just better than a lot of other people too. I'm playing late July. I mean, I am. I am. What? Yeah. Yeah.
Was there a specific moment or experience that made you realize that this is what you want to pursue?
You know, never really thought about that, but I feel like there's this specific moment that makes me want to pursue you. And it's when I saw you walking from the door. So, the moment that really made me know that I was going to do this, and this is so funny because it's seared in my memory so much to where it almost looks like a movie scene for me. And it's I was listening to Big Pun, right? I used to love Big Pun, listen to him all the time. The multi-syllabic rhyme style was like crazy for me. I was deep into it. Like Winslow knowing, like my beginning work, it was da 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 da. I was machine gunning the syllables and stuff. And there's this one song called "You Came Up," right? And the first verse goes, no, it has to be the second verse. He said, "Hey, hey, yo, I'm still the same since the way you remember me, since the centipede or the big plaque back in the 70s try to remember me for my aggressive will. The way I kept it real is more important than any record deal. I used to chill on the block, Cuban and Sace. I still do, but now it's in the blue convertible 850. My true brothers will always be with me. The shifty kiss me, tell me they miss me, then try to diss me because my wrist be crispy. Your price, 60's a price. Another Cuban for me, twisted and nice. Brothers is shice, but I psych them out. Though they like to doubt, I'm making more believers once I let the Tyson out. And I can only vouch for a few, only the few from your school that I consider morally true or morally grew from a school fool to a scholar. Follow the rules and how to spot a plotter that's cool for $1. And when I heard that, what I used to do back then, I used to imitate some of like the best verses that I would see. And there's a verse that's actually on the J. Ryan album called Black Gods, I think it is. And it's on the Take Me As I Am project. I forgot, not project, but title song. And I forgot if that's the official song, but it's featuring I Am More. It's on J. Ryan's project, so check that out. And I said, "Hey, yo, Hey, yo, I remember saying all the pain that almost ended me. Feeling the trend of entropy, mentally, detrimentally, milliseconds, not centuries. Still a second, they said to me, give them seconds instead of let them be. Cause I contain every memory sent to me, enemies telling me senselessly. Your rapper is lame, playing or just repelling me. Drain, my game was failing me, easily friends of me, extensively measure my tendencies under pressure and simply peep. All my lyrical treasury, buried potential, pure energy, a kinetically feared entity, more than anything near legendary. Instead of let it drill the defeat or let the deceit, I shredded these sheets and blooded these beasts. Now I'm ahead of the fleet, accredited lead, embedded increase, cheese embedded beneath the legend increase. Never have leverage to seize, not a percentage of peace. And like through all that, like I wrote that verse, I was just like, yo, this is wild. And there's this one line by Kendrick Lamar, and it goes, I told brothers when I was 16 that I read at 16 to put a brother right on the big screen. And I was like, this is my 16 that I wrote when I was 16. That this type of stuff is gonna put me right on the big screen. So like that was that moment for me. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be great at this.
So how has your music process evolved since you started, and what do you hope to achieve next?
Um, well, sometimes I get in the booth and I shut the door. This new, like, and I just start singing like Tring songs, you know. You know, like I really be testing the vocals, getting it warmed up, you know what I mean? Um, at any given moment, I might just hit you with a Luther Vandross nowadays. I never used to do that. You know, sometimes to warm up, you know, dum, 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 you know, I just hit one of those. Yeah, sometimes I kill.
How ha
I'm just kidding. No, no. Why would you continue on? That was a terrible answer. You should have canceled me. How my process has changed over the years. This how it's changed. So I'm deep in writing and freestyling too, and I always try to make those things on par with one another. But I never really mix them together into my process for creating songs. It was not too long ago, probably like 2021, 2020, when I started recording a lot of my freestyles and then turning them into songs. Back then, I was just straight onto the pad, write it out straight, type it out and everything. And I used to just be all about bars. It was just bars. The hook was bars. Everything was bars, you know. But now, oh, that's the Uber for the eats.
Nah, that's my line to eat.
So I,
No, you good.
so pretty much like nowadays, what I focus on is structuring songs and working on the best music that I can work on rather than the best lines. Like I've proved to myself that I can be lyrical. I can get into that bag, as they say. But now it's about structuring the right music, communicating to the right people, structuring things to where it's digestible, replay value, but not losing the sense of me, not losing the lyricism, the poetry in it, and being as balanced of an artist as I can. So it usually starts the process is like finding a beat, freestyling and developing the theme through that freestyle, taking that chorus, writing the chorus out, seeing if it all fits with the narrative. And what I do is I freestyle the flow for the chorus, the flow for the different verses. And I have like probably like 5, 6 flows. And then I take them, I try to chop down and make as many like hitter bars and stuff like that, like lines that really stick. And then after using those different flows to piece in the first verse, the third verse, second verse and stuff, I just go back and then perform it and then really try to get it all smoothed out so that it feels better in my performance, because I know if I can perform it and it feels good performing it or it feels smooth, then I know somebody's gonna feel that smoothness or feel that energy and whatever the performance was. So I look at things now from the standpoint of where it's gonna be, not where I'm at right now. You know, I used to record music and not know what the end product fully was going to be like, but now I look at it with a more experienced ear and more developed mindset. It's not even for just the streaming platforms. I really be recording stuff thinking about the stages I'm going to be on in the future, you know, because that's where I want to end up at having everything be at, you know.
How does your background or upbringing shape the way you approach your music today?
I be wanting to say the dumbest replies. I ain't gonna lie. I was about to be like my rap sheet, you know, mixy. So, so my background. So, really, I've been a person with. I mean, my background is like two parents. You know, what I mean, balanced household and a good relationship with my siblings. So, everything is put in a place where I could cultivate and cater to my communication and voicing not necessarily just opinions, but voicing my observations about life and being able to be in a space where I can cultivate throwing ideas back and forth with one another and developing a sense of being emotionally aware and emotionally intelligent so that I can stop myself from harming people that are close to me. And when I say harm, like just, sometimes you get so familiar with some people that you just say things and you don't really take into consideration how they may feel. And I think all that reflection is also akin to where I get into my music. A lot of it is very reflective, it's very introspective. And also, my whole idea and my thought behind the music and the quality of it is music is an extension of me. So if I'm a better me, the music's gonna be better, you know? So my background really developed my whole sense of being able to understand being self-aware is actually one of the greatest things you can do, but also being self-aware and proactive is probably one of the greatest things you could do as far as um, developing yourself and impacting anything. And my background literally gave me a space and facilitated a lot of that happening.
So this is the last question, and it is, what legacy do you hope to leave behind, both as an artist and as a person yourself?
As an artist, I want to leave behind a legacy of really just a message. Really, it's like if when I leave, I'm but a rock or but a piece of paper and stuff like that left behind to like symbolize some kind of message, right? And when I say like rock, like some kind of monument or something to leave behind. I don't want no statues, by the way. That's not what I'm saying. Um, I want it to be that we can all eat, we can all be successful, and we can all grow. And in order to do that, you have to do meaningful work and you have to focus on the relationship and don't make people a means to an end. I think really what I want to bring is just value in people. Cause as an artist, when I go to these shows and stuff like that, it's sometimes it's full of people, sometimes it may not be that full of people. But at the end of the day, people are people, and I treat everybody like I would treat somebody backstage. I treat them in the crowd, or whoever put on the show. I would treat them like any of the sound guys and stuff like that. And I feel like that's really what I want to impact people with. You always hear those stories. He was such a nice guy that did this and the third. But it's funny that a lot of people speak on those people, and even some people that speak on them choose not to do the same thing. And I want to be able to establish a community or some kind of culture, some kind of awareness to it to like actually do it rather than just let those few nice people just be that little story that we all talk about. Like, oh, yeah, that was nice. And that's what I really mean by like left behind as something tangible. If anybody views me after I'm gone, it's not to look over anything in the catalog and be like, yo, this is like amazing, like study this. Really, it's like this is a direction back to the fact that everything that I'm doing now is because like my journey started with music the same that it started with God. And I became that person and developed through the music, and you will hear it in the music. So nothing is all about that itself. Just like a guy who, he has a workout channel. You see the diets, you see the plans, it probably looks like it has some delicious plates and stuff like that. That's the songs. Is the great plates, you know what I mean? And maybe like his physique and stuff like that, maybe the way you see me interacting with people. But at the end of the day, the workout in the gym is the real essence of what I feel people should carry. So don't look at the meal and don't look at, what I mean, all that stuff. Look at, dang, the work. Where do I go to put in this work so I can mirror this, so I can have this on me? Like I think it's Paul who said, "Follow me as I follow Christ," or Peter. I always get those mixed up. I need to really help myself on that one. And that's really what it goes to at the end of the day. Like yeah, like the question embodies and symbolizes what will I leave behind as a person and as an artist. Same exact thing, because everything that I do is operated based on the fact that I will leave eventually. And the only one who's coming back for real like that with something to give to everybody is Jesus. And Jesus said to his disciples, if I leave you now to prepare a place, I'll come back to get you. So I want everybody to know as they're going through this life thing, there's someone who created this whole universe. You don't have to rely on the universe. There's someone who created it, right? And he's preparing a place right now. He's going to come back. He's going to get us because he is faithful. All you gotta do is just yield yourself and your soul up to him and let him be over you in his lordship and embody those principles and let that spirit get into you, and then you'll be able to carry it out with power. And that's what I want to leave behind, because if I lead somebody to anything else, I have an essentially have become a distraction for anybody. And I don't want to be a distraction for anybody. So that's why I want to leave behind. I appreciate you for this interview. This was very amazing. I love you, right? We should do this again. We should do this again. It's been your boy, I am Mora from the Auraverse, and I appreciate everybody for tuning in and everybody who's gotten me out here, all the questions that were very lovely, introspective, and deep. And I hope this message will touch what's beyond the scene, the heart, the soul, the spirit, as we ascend beyond the scene on our journey in the Auraverse. I hope you stay tuned. It's going to be a wild ride. We're going to be here for a while. And we're doing things that matter 1,000 years from now. So you definitely want to join and tune in and stay tapped in for a life. All right? Thank you. Pieces.